Hello folks, R1 here. This is a follow-up video. I wanted to show you the mod that I believe has probably become the handiest mod in my collection. And if you do any kind of building in Ark Survival Evolved, this is a must-have for anyone that's building in not only the redwood biome, but in any area where the terrain is rough, rocky, and uneven. Let's pick a spot that's a little less rough, rocky, and uneven to get started though. This flat spot on top of this shelf of rock should do for a start. Now this mod is called Structures Plus, and it's put out by Orion Sun, the same individual that put out the Platforms Plus mod that made Arborea possible. This person has a talent for coming out with extremely handy mods, including one called Triangles, which gives you triangular foundations and ceilings. It has now become obsolete. The triangular foundations and ceilings are now included in Structures Plus, and as you can see, you can pretty much do anything with it that you want. I have found this mod excels at making perfect hexagons, but you can really make any geometric pattern that you need to, given enough time and space. We'll just slap something out here to give us a rough platform to work on, and then I want to show you the next thing. You'll have to bear with me a little bit. There is so much to cover in this mod. I'm going to be going fairly quickly, so forgive me, I'm not trying to rush things, but I'm only going to be able to skim the surface as it is, and hopefully still keep this video to a reasonable length. Okay, now I have a rough platform put together, and I'm grabbing one of the nifty new spiral staircases that just came in the game. It'll snap in a variety of positions, but let's put it here for right now. That looks pretty good, although I do wish they had decided to put handrails on these things. I keep falling off the edge if I don't have walls right next to the stairway. Of course, depending on how well the weekend's gone, that happens to me in real life as well. Right now I'm placing some of the glass walls that come with the Structures Plus kit, and as you can see, they're very clean and very functional, and they have some special properties that I'm going to show you in just a moment, if this Pteranodon will get out of the way. I'm going to tighten this up a little bit. Everything in the mod you can pick up and put back in your inventory if you need to, including the glass walls, and there are a lot of other options that I'm going to show you in just a second. Let me get rid of this foundation here as well. Alright, I've tightened that up a little bit. Well, it's not perfect, but it'll do. Now, all of these items, all of these walls and foundations are no-clip, and they are extremely well done no-clip foundations. I haven't had any issues with them whatsoever, and they function well even in situations where the other no-clip mod, no offense intended, where that mod doesn't work so well. Now it clipped right through the side of that stairway, and if these were solid walls that wouldn't matter a bit. As a matter of fact, it might be beneficial to hide that curvature there in the back of the stairway, but we'll leave it as is for right now. Let me go ahead and flesh this out a little bit, and in no time at all we have a perfect, weirdly shaped structure. I have no idea why you would want something shaped like this, but if you needed it, there you go. Now, since we started building this staircase at kind of an odd angle, let me take a few more triangles and provide a landing up at the top that a person could navigate. I'm not going to bother putting rails on it, but you could if you so desired. This all fits together very cleanly and efficiently, and, well, really you can do anything from here that you like. Now you might be saying to yourself, R1, that's great, but I don't really need triangles that often. Let me show you something else then. Cycle model. Look at that. With just a click, you can take away the top and bottom rails, which would give you a nice uninterrupted pane of glass going all the way up, which would be great for tall vertical windows. Another click, and you have your top and bottom rails back again. We have some other options too. Let's cycle this to a one-way wall. It now has a mirror-like finish on the outside and is easily viewable through from the inside. If you don't like that, or if you got the wall backwards for some reason, click it again and you get the opposite effect for the voyeurs out there that enjoy being observed without being able to see who's observing them. And let's click it one more time, and it's perfectly opaque from both sides. which I think looks pretty high-tech. And of course, with the final click, you can cycle through back to the beginning, and you have just a clear sheet of glass. All of the glass items in this mod have these capabilities, and there is a regular greenhouse glass as well. Now this is one of the glass foundations that comes with the set, and I'm going to use it to show you something a little bit different. Just about all of the building components that you find in Vanilla Arc, you will find a counterpoint here in this mod, except the snap points seem to work a bit better, including this behemoth gate, which snaps to a foundation. Wouldn't that be nice? And there's the gate itself, which looks suitably massive. It's a glass gate, glass and metal, and oh, look at that. I didn't click anything to open that. By default, and you can turn this on or off, it will open automatically as you approach, and after a few seconds, it will close behind you. That's perfect. Have you ever tried to drive a Brontosaurus through one of these gates and actually click on the gate to get it to open and close? I have, and it's not a lot of fun. Now, as I said, you can turn that function off because, well, let's face it, there are times when you don't want the gate to spontaneously open and expose your base to possible attack. There's the dino gate, and I put the glass gate itself inside the glass gate doors. It has the same functionality, as do all the doors in this mod. Now, you can cycle all of this stuff, including the opacity of the glass, as you so desire. Now, you may be asking yourself, is opacity a real word? I believe it is, but if it wasn't before, it is now. Look at that. Doesn't that look sharp? That is just outstanding. Sometimes it's the little things in life that bring you the most joy, and I could play with these doors for quite a while, but I'm going to restrain myself. I really think that I would use that automatic door feature more on internal doors, and I'll have to give that some thought. In the meantime, let's move on to something else. And I should preface this by saying that a lot of my base was built before this mod came out, which is unfortunate, and I'll show you why a little bit later in the video. For right now, let's just clear a little space, and as I said before, all of these items can be picked up, which saves immensely on resources. Okay, now we're back to one glass foundation. Let's take a moment and add another one to that to give us a little space to work. And while we're at it, let's take a stone ceiling and snap to that. Well, look at that. It fits perfectly flush. And it still fits correctly with walls as well. And let's pop one on there. A perfect fit. And while we're at it, let me show you one of the ramps that comes with this mod, because they're a little bit different too. Normal ramps are a little on the long side. However, these are exactly 1 floor wide and 1 ceiling tall. This is the glass ramp, by the way. Now, I don't know about you, but this simplifies a lot of my building projects, and if you still needed the extra overhang that a standard vanilla ramp has, well, of course, those are still available. And while I think about it, I suppose I should mention that all of these components are interchangeable with Vanilla Arc components. They snap together with no issues whatsoever. Now these are obviously stone water pipes. I haven't seen metal ones yet. If he doesn't have them out, I'm sure they're coming. But they are exactly 1 foundation wide and 1 wall high, as is pretty much everything else in this mod. As I was editing this, it occurred to me I needed to see how this worked with like industrial cookers and that sort of thing. So let me cut away for a second and show you. And there's an industrial cooker and a water reservoir. As you can see, everything aligns perfectly. These water pipes snap together correctly. The intersection fits perfectly between the verticals. The water pipe just simply has to come up between the 2 kettles there on the cooker, or down through the center of the water reservoir, or up through the center. And everything is in perfect alignment. You'll also see an electrical generator there, and that's because I want to show you wiring next. Okay, pretty much back to square one again. Let's get out a cable, and you'll notice it does not snap to the foundation. And that's alright, it doesn't have to snap to the foundation, and I'll show you why. First things first, let's conjure up an electrical generator that comes with this mod. It's silent, by the way, and it snaps to the foundation in perfect alignment. And you can put that in any orientation that you prefer. Just like the water pipes, the electrical cabling is exactly one foundation wide and one wall high, meaning you know exactly where those electrical cables are going to end up. Which, as it turns out, is extremely handy because, and although I didn't show it while I was filming this, you have the option to make these cables disappear. They become invisible, and if you need them again, since you know where they are, just point your cursor at them and you can show them again as you wish. Now, since my base was already past this point when the mod came out, I haven't gotten a chance to play with these yet myself. But according to the author of the mod, you can also make those little gray lines that show connections to your electricity. You can make those disappear as well. Heck, you can even turn off the sparking effect on the connector boxes if you choose to do so. In case it isn't blindingly obvious, I love this mod. You can even go so far as to snap your crop plots to foundations now. For those of you that are perfectionists and like everything lined up perfectly, this is your dream come true. But now it's time to get to one of the very best parts of this mod. Let me get a little space to work in, and some uneven ground. Now, if you're anything like me, you spend a lot of time putting up walls. And it's really easy to mess them up. Well, now this is a fence foundation from the mod, and it places just like normal, but you notice that green arrow. That is so you always know what the front facing is. Have you ever had a wall that, well, it seems to be a little off, there are odd gaps in it, and they don't line up perfectly, and you have to fiddle with them? Well, if you get those green arrows all on the same side of that fence foundation, your wall's going to line up just fine. On the other hand, this is what's called a fence support. Although, really, I wouldn't use it for fences so much, the actual fence railings. This is more for walls. It again has the green arrow to show you what side the front of the wall is going to be, and those little green balls are there to assist you in getting them to snap together correctly. Let me put a few of these down and I'll show you how they work. Okay, now I have a few of these fence supports in place. All you do is take a standard wall section and clip it in. This keeps the top of your wall perfectly aligned, and these no-snap walls will go a considerable distance into the ground. You may have small gaps at the bottom, but that's really not too much of an issue. Let me show you a couple of applications here. Alright, here's a wall that I built going up over the edge of this rocky shelf. Now, this isn't an ideal example because with the slope coming down toward me, that lets you see the actual fence supports down there more clearly than you normally would. It's because I went across the slope instead of down or up the slope. And the top is off just slightly, but that, truthfully, is because I was a little ham-fisted with it when I put them together. These supports will snap vertically as well. Normally you don't have to do that, but if you've got a big jump in elevation or a big declination that you have to get up and down, well, you can snap these higher or lower as necessary. Here, I'll run a section of this wall down the slope to show you what I mean. Now, you see how it wants to snap lower? That's because, well, it needs to be lower to get me down this slope. Now the next support will snap to it, and so on and so forth until we get to the bottom of the slope. Since it'll go up or down, either one, well, you can cover quite a bit of difference in elevation without any issues whatsoever. There, it wanted to snap low again, that's fine. That sets me up for the next section of my wall. And we'll continue on from there. There, we have all of the supports in place that I think we need for this demonstration. Because of how I placed this T intersection, there's going to be a little bit of overlap, but because of the way these walls work, it really doesn't matter. The overlap looks just fine. And it's going to set us up perfectly to run the T intersection all the way up and down the slope. Alright, now all we need to do is place the last few sections of wall There we go. And we have a nearly perfect wall. You'll notice there are a couple of small gaps at the bottom. These no-clip walls are excellent, but they do require at least a little bit above ground. It's not an issue. I actually tested this. Well, let me show you. We'll just go prone and head up to these two gaps, and they are so small you cannot get through them. The only downside to the little gaps at the bottom is that well, if you're in a PvP situation, someone can stick their head through and actually look inside your base. But if that bothers you, I could easily just fit a standard foundation there and seal that gap entirely. To be perfectly honest, that's a very, very small price to pay for a wall that looks like this, especially on such a steep slope. We are starting to run a little bit long on this video, but let me take just a moment to do a quick comparison and throw up a regular wall the way we normally have to and compare the two. Fortunately, with the improved normal fence foundations included in this mod, it only takes a few seconds to put one together. Now, before the Structures Plus mod came out, I would have looked at this wall and said, that came out pretty nice. Now, not so much. The uneven top really bugs me, and that can be a problem if you're trying to build walls and structures that are connected to the wall, or put a walkway along the top. This is what they can look like now, or some combination of the two. Frankly, that simplifies a lot of building tasks and enables you to do projects that you might normally have struggled with for long periods of time to get right. We are just about to bring this video to a close, but I'm going to take a moment and head upstairs and show you how I've used this mod to clean up the construction of my base camp. Now, as I said before, my camp was almost complete when this mod came out, but I went back and redid a few sections anyway. These triangular pieces made of metal were the perfect solution to have my stairway line up correctly. Now it comes out in the center of the room instead of off at a weird angle. I would also have gone back and redone those electrical cables, but they're hard to get to in the middle of the platform like that. Now, this is one of the best parts. The redwoods pose a problem with getting your flooring and walls up tight against them. Well, now that is no longer a problem. They clip into it nicely and they look like they're made for it. The walls join perfectly with the trunk of the tree. Everything looks nice, clean, tight, and tidy. Slapping on a coat of paint made it blend in quite nicely with the steampunk mod that I used for the majority of the construction. Tuxford was impressed, and so was I. In my opinion, the Structures Plus mod is a must-have for anyone that's building with mods, particularly those of us that are building in the redwood biome. The tree trunks provide unique challenges, and the uneven nature of much of the terrain here, well, I'd hate to have to tackle this project that I've involved myself in without it. Orion Son, you have outdone yourself. So let's do a really fast recap. This is a true no collision and no building height limit mod. It has triangular foundations and ceilings available, and those will also soon be available in glass. The glass foundations that are in it, ceilings, and walls have 16 variations. You can toggle the transparency on all the glass items. They all have a greenhouse effect. The ceilings snap flush with the foundations, and they match up perfectly with walls despite that. Crop plots, pipes, electrical cables, everything snaps into place beautifully. In addition to the features that I have shown you, little things like, well, it's not a little thing, the sloped walls that are included can snap to the bottom of walls and ceilings, as well as the top, so you can make those inverted glass walls, like I made my observation pod down below. There are configuration options to remove the foundation requirement. Water tanks and industrial cookers can be placed without a pipe connection. Water pipes can be placed on rafts. And everything is a standard size, either one foundation or one ceiling. That's very, very nice. You can even toggle the industrial cooker, forge, and grill between gas or electricity if you so desire. I've tried to cover as much as I can in this video and at least give you a good general overview of what's included, but to be honest, I haven't covered everything. And that doesn't even mention the future plans that he has for this mod. There's more to come. I'll put a link in the description below to show you where you can find Structures Plus. And if you play on a server that allows mods, I strongly advise you to check it out. It's getting late here, and it's past Tuxford's bedtime, so I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks for watching, and if you've already subscribed, thanks for doing that as well. If you haven't, please consider doing so. And give me a like if you enjoyed the video. Until I see you guys again, good hunting. There, that's a wrap. See, you don't always get in the last word, Tuxford. Thanks for watching. I hope you were entertained. If you liked the video, please remember to subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you. And I'll see you next time.